Well, Gary Burr is a songwriter, singer, and musician, now turned author. He's worked with people like Kenny Loggins, Ringo Starr, Carole King, and Neil Diamond, and took his experiences in the industry to write what he's calling an adult fairy tale, particularly one for those who just love music. The book is called Reunion, a rock and roll fairy tale. It is available right now, and we are lucky enough to have Gary joining us via Zoom this morning to talk about this new adventure. Gary, thanks for being with us.
Oh, glad to be here, Michelle. Great to be here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your career in the past leading up to this. I mean, you've worked with some pretty spectacular musicians.
Oh, that's all in the past. I prefer to look. No, okay. All right. I've been down here in Nashville, Tennessee for about 30 years. And I've had the opportunity to write and work with some amazing people. I've written for Garth and Reba and you name it, everybody from Joe Cocker to Carole King. I've toured the world playing guitar for Carole King, and I've been recording and writing with Ringo for close to 20 years now.
Wow.
So that's what, that's what's been amazing about my career. Some kid from Connecticut wrote a song one day and it ended up on the radio. And now here I am, down here in Nashville, in the Country Songwriter Hall of Fame. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. And, so obviously you're a writer at heart. So talk about the transition from writing songs to writing a book.
Well, I discovered it's longer.
Yeah, just a little.
I was very comfortable writing 3-minute stories, and then all of a sudden I've got to write one that's 300 pages. So that was a little daunting, but I had help in the form of a pandemic that locked me in my basement for 2.5 years. And that's what happened with this. I was right before the pandemic. I was in New York and I was walking by the Dakota. And I like what if stories. And I had this what if story of if everyone loves the Beatles. Beatles are consuming. I always say if I could make money either from the stuff I know about the Beatles or Seinfeld, I would be a rich man. But I stuck to the Beatles. And I was thinking, what would it have taken for those two people, John and his assassin, to not meet each other that night? John could have stayed at the studio for one extra playback. The other guy could have missed a cab, whatever. And everything would have changed. And I decided to sit down and write what would have happened if that changed. And I found a reason to have them all sitting around a table when they're 58 years old saying, let's try to do a comeback concert. And, because I've been in a million bands my life and I know what it's like, and I've been hanging with Ringo, so I kind of know, the way they would talk to each other from all his stories. I tried to capture that the best I could, just the ridiculous idea of what if Beatlemania happens all over again, or what's even scarier to them, what if it doesn't?
Wow. I love that. And so, who is this book for? Who is going to really enjoy this story?
You know what? So far, it's great. I know that, I'm going to the Beatle festivals and all that stuff and the Beatle podcasts, and they're all diving in because they're hearing stories that, they're not even sure if they're true. Some of them are, some of them I've heard firsthand, some of them aren't, but they're, I'm placing them in a room where where the four Beatles are trying to relearn, how does help go? But I'm shocked at how many people say, I don't know anything about the Beatles, but it was a fun read. And at the end, I was crying and laughing and cheering and ordering 100 more books.
Right? You're like, please, please. But yeah, people are loving it. I just like the thought of an adult fairy tale, right? Why do kids get all the fun when we can come and use our imaginations and dive deeper into what the Beatles could have been, I guess?
Absolutely. Everyone had that fantasy until 1980, when John was taken from the equation and you couldn't have that anymore. And, to find a way to make that where they kept wanting it. I say in the book, John says they've wanted it for 20 years. What if when we get up there, they go, it's just four old guys, and So that's, that's the fairy tale part of it. I could create any world I want and have them do anything I want. Create, make up a bunch of albums that John would have recorded between 1980 and 1989. And in the book, I even have Paul and John sitting down and writing a new song for the concert. And I wrote the song, and it's available at the end of the book. You can do a QR code and get the song, and the song is me, but it's Ringo playing drums.
I love that. I was just going to ask, is there a soundtrack? You say you could create this album that fits perfectly. So there is a song attached to the book.
There's a song with a Beatle on the pounding on the skins.
I love it. I love it.
Did I just say pounding on the skins? Did I become a hipster suddenly? Pounding on the skins? Is that what your kids are saying now?
I'm not a kid, so I don't know what the kids are saying.
Okay. All right.
Anything else that you really hope readers take away from this book?
Just, the best thing is when you are of a certain age and you read this book, you remember what it was like to be smack dab in the middle of the Beatle phenomenon and the Beatlemania. I was a kid standing on the sidewalk in front of my town's record store when the truck pulled up and brought in the first copies of Sgt. Pepper. And I watched him cut open the plastic, and I bought the first one off the stack. People reading the book are saying, this book made me remember how that felt.
I love that. I love that so much. All right. Well, Gary Burr, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for extending your writing beyond 3 minutes to 300 pages. We appreciate it. Right now, you can get it, Reunion. Go to GaryBurr.com. You want more information. We'll be right back.